GRU are silencing witnesses of Jericho group activity all over Russia. Homeless people and mental patients are being neutralized by GRU operatives coordinated by the Jericho group. Indeed, it's interesting to consider these homeless people and mental patients were either victims of Jericho group mind control experimentation or witnessed rituals of the Jericho group. So it's all very interesting to consider. The Jericho group is chiefly operative out of the catacombs beneath the Kremlin. Indeed, the Jericho group control Putin's boys and the network surrounding Vladimir Putin. So it's interesting to consider Vladimir Putin is himself a Sabbatean, but not a high-ranking initiate of the Jericho group. Indeed, the Jericho group goes several layers above the Russian president and is operative to start World War III and basically take advantage of the global chaos in an ordo ab chaos scenario, whereby the Jericho group would create order out of chaos and would be heralded by the populace as the Messiah. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider that the Jericho group wished to create the problem, then create the reaction, and then be the solution. This is all Hegelian thinking, but on another scale. It's all very interesting to consider that there are many German aristocrats in the Jericho group. So it's interesting to consider the synthesis of DVD operations and Sabbatean ones here. Indeed, there are networks of ufologists who have been following the trail of the Kremlin for a solution to the conundrum of whether or not aliens exist. Indeed, the answer to this is there are disembodied entities and projections, I believe. I'm not fully learned in ufology. However, I believe the International Organization for the Destinies of the World, which is coordinated by networks of GRU and KGB operatives close to the Jericho group, is an attempt by Russian spiritual movements to contact extraterrestrial entities in view of a Cold War turning into a hot one. So it's all very interesting to consider. However, the real brains behind the International Organization for the Destinies of the World are the Jericho group. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, paranormal phenomena tend to happen to researchers when they start picking up on the existence of the Jericho group. Indeed, I am being beamed at terribly today. So it's interesting to consider that this morning I made a video talking about the Jericho group, and now I'm being beamed at absolutely terribly with some really dirty weaponry, which is making me feel very sick and very drowsy indeed. This is Soviet tech and operative from the suburbs of St. Petersburg, utilizing satellite technology to basically affect me wherever I am standing or sitting. So it's all rather annoying indeed. This is all interconnected to my exposures of the organ trade and how the organ trade interconnects with the Roundway experiment and the Sabbateans controlling it. So it's all very interesting to note. Indeed, P.C. Miller is a Sabbatean. Indeed, it's all very interesting to note that P.C. Miller engages in Sabbatean bloodlust orgies and the rape of innocent victims, utilizing Sabbatean techniques. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, Device's pleas could therefore be judged as Sabbateans. Indeed, This is a cosmic conflict between a lunatic and the Sabbateans. Indeed, it's all very interesting to note that Walter & Sons Butcher Shop cartel operatives of the Black House gang said to P.C. Miller, "We don't want any more mentally ill people walking around devices." So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the Black House gang are terrified of mental patients. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the organ harvesters operating out of Walter & Sons Butcher Shop have a kill order on me via the Black House gang's networks down here. So it's all very interesting to consider that I'm in a rather precarious position for exposing the Walter & Sons Butcher Shop organ harvesting cabal, and even in an even more precarious position by linking it to the Jericho group. Indeed, witnesses to Jericho group activity are usually neutralized very quickly. Indeed, Russian mental patients have heard of the Jericho group and are starting to research into it. Indeed, Lavrenti Beria was an operative of the Jericho group, as was his predecessor, Geniet Shugoda, and his predecessor, Felix Jasinski. Indeed, the Soviet intelligence continuums were dominated by the Jericho group, and indeed, modern-day Russian Federation intelligence services are also dominated by the Jericho group. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the KGB began handling the organ trade here in Wiltshire in the 1930s during the tenure of Lavrenti Beria as KGB chief, though at the time it was known as the NKVD. Indeed, there is a reason why the KGB is termed the organs. And this is because of the organ traffic. So it's all very interesting to note. Indeed, British intelligence analysts have always said that the organ traffic in Wiltshire was coordinated by Russians. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, these Russians are of a specific sect of Jews, i.e. Sabbateans, that don't actually practice Judaism. They practice outright Satanism. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, these people are fetishists, cannibals, and baby killers. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider this sect and their activities. Indeed, David Icke considers these people to be ultra-Zionists, though it's not quite as simple as that. Indeed, David Icke also seems to be a counterintelligence psychological operation coordinated by MI5. I also don't believe he writes his own books. He has teams of researchers who do it. However, I believe his data is still worth researching. So it's all interesting to consider. Indeed, the majority of conspiracy theorists on YouTube are controlled assets of cryptocracies. So it's all very interesting to note. Indeed, WikiLeaks was a counterintelligence operation also, coordinated by a faction within the CIA that wanted to take on the Jericho group. So it's interesting to consider. Indeed, there are so many interfactional disputes among intelligence cells and even within cells that it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the Labyrinth cult of Rupert Lowe that originates at Norfolk Police Headquarters, which is running the Devizes Police child rape syndicate, is itself a branch of the Jericho group. So it's all very interesting how this Jericho group operating out the catacombs beneath the Kremlin directly interlinks with the activities of Devizes Police. and the child rape fetishism of P.C. Miller. Indeed, it's all very strange to consider. Indeed, there are internal squabbles within the Jericho group, and indeed, they turn on each other all the time. So it's all very interesting to consider. But this organ traffic is coordinated in devices by Herschel Grunbaum, who is chiefly an operative of the Jericho group, operating as a GRU functionary. So it's all very interesting indeed. His role is to silence witnesses, and indeed his Sabbatean cells of GRU operatives have been silencing witnesses in Russia, Moldova, and Kazakhstan. So it's all very interesting to consider that the reach of the Jericho group extends all over the post-Soviet territory, and indeed right into the heart of the British government itself. Indeed, various lords and dukes are coordinated by the Jericho group through a massive blackmail operation, similar to what we witnessed with the Epstein files. Indeed, this blackmail operation in Britain is run by Mossad agents who are themselves GRU and Jericho group. So it's all very interesting to consider. There is truth to the theories of Jewish world domination. So it's interesting to consider. However, Hebrew commoners are used as ritual sacrifice victims by the ultra-Zionists and the death cult, i.e. the Jericho group. So it's interesting to consider the Jericho group control the activities of the Mossad through Fourth Reich agencies such as the Deutsche Verteidigungsdienst. So it's interesting to consider the crossover between German noblemen and Sabbateans beginning in the 1700s. So it's very interesting to note my theory regarding the fact that the Asiatic Brethren control British intelligence is not far off. So it's all rather interesting indeed. Devisers, please want to talk about this conspiracy theorist to a higher authority, attempting to shut me down in some way, because this conspiracy theorist is getting too close to the truth about Walter Rose and Sons butcher shop. And indeed, these links between Walter Rose and Sons butcher shop and the Russian state can prove very damning to Devisers, please, and the reputation of Wiltshire locals. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, as I stated before, I am in a rather precarious situation now, and I'm attempting to navigate my way through the beams. Indeed, I'm attempting to surf the microwaves as much as possible. Indeed, I'm haunted by voices of unknown origin. Indeed, it seems these voices are of terrestrial origin, through voice-to-skull technology being operated on me by Sabbateans and British Freemasons. So it's interesting to consider the synthesis between Sabbateanism and British Freemasonry. Indeed, Rupert Lowe's networks are all aware of Sabbateans and know that Rupert Lowe is himself a Sabbatean, and indeed these are Masonic operations. So it's very interesting to consider. Indeed, British Freemasonry is Sabbatean and therefore satanic, and serves the Arch Sabbatean network, i.e. the Jericho group, as a conduit for implementing Novus Ordo Seclorum tendencies. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, these Sabbateans basically appeared out of nowhere in the 1660s, and since then have begun to take over the globe. So It's all very interesting to consider and all very strange indeed. The Roundway experiment, in its current form, is a Sabbatean operation utilizing US homeless stolen from the streets of America and transferred to devices and kept chained in the catacombs beneath Roundway Asylum, utilized for experiments by British doctors who are themselves Freemasons and operative for the Sabbatean agenda. Indeed, it's all very interesting to consider. And also, Nazi bloodline descendants of Reich doctors operate open brain surgery on schizophrenics in the vaults beneath Roundway Asylum. So it's all really quite awful to consider exactly what is going on in those underground catacombs beneath Roundway Asylum. Indeed, this Roundway experiment is a closely guarded secret, even within the compartmentalized British intelligence services. Indeed, many lower level operatives who are themselves under Sabbatean mind control mechanisms do not know of the existence of the Roundway experiment or of the activities of Devices Police and the Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop cartel. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, the Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop cartel are considering hiring a Sabbatean operative by the name of Emil Hirschfeld. So it's interesting to consider. They are attempting to shut down any exposures of their networks by the utilization of satellite intelligence provided by Russian state security services, and basically shut down any witnesses to their operations utilizing networks of GRU hitmen coordinated by Emil Hirschfeld. So it's interesting to consider that the Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop organ harvesters, in their desperation, are hiring GRU hitmen for a revenge attack on me in the streets of Warminster in the coming weeks. So it's all very interesting to consider that Devices Police and their operatives are prepared to kill me for exposing Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop and the Devices Police child rape ring. So it's all rather awful. Indeed, it's too awful to consider. Indeed, as I'm part of a targeted individual program operated by the Russian state, it is interesting to consider what is going on. The fact that Russian state operatives are licensed to surveil and monitor me on British soil by British intelligence is very interesting, considering the apparent conflict between the two nation states. Indeed, I've realized the nation states are meaningless. There are only networks. And this Jericho group operating out of the catacombs of the Kremlin has influence within the British intelligence structure, enough influence to target me in the way they're doing on British soil. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, as I stated, the organ trade is coordinated by Russian intelligence, who are themselves handled by the Jericho group. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, this Walter Rose and Sons Butcher Shop cabal is a tentacle of the Russian intelligence services, utilizing counterintelligence techniques via their own equivalent of the Blackwell legacy. So it's all very interesting to consider. Indeed, I'm not sure what to do. All I can do is keep theorizing on the topic and creating content. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there now.